Let's now see a specific example of risk assessment and do one threat event characterization end-to-end. So here in the screen, I have this table I5. That's a template of an adversarial risk that can be found in the special publication I mentioned before, 830 from NIST, is actually on page I3. So this is where you start. You find the risk associated with specific threat event that you're after. And to fill this table and its columns, the guidelines are above the table on the same guidelines. So for every column, threat event, sources, capability, intent, targeting, so on and so forth, there are instructions on how to fill each individual column. So let's go over an example together. So let's say I'm starting with column 1 threat event. That will be task 2.2, as we saw before, threat event identification. Let me go to that. So here I see representative examples. Many of my events, again, will come from previous risk assessments I have done or from the experience of the people involved, but I can also use the tables here. And if you see the tables are split in different groups: reconnaissance, craft or create attack tools, deliver malicious capabilities, exploit and compromise, conduct an attack, and achieve results. So these processes roughly map to the kill chain we actually saw in previous modules. So there are many of them here, as you can see. Let me choose one. Let's choose the network sniffing of exposed networks. So I'm choosing this one. So what is this threat? I'm trying to understand its risk. Adversary with access to exposed wired or wireless data channels used to transmit information uses network sniffing to identify components, resources, and protection. So this is reconnaissance. If something is open and available, the adversary can find information about my network. So this is the threat event I'm considering currently. So second, threat sources, identify threat sources that could initiate the threat event. Let's go to threat sources. And I have a taxonomy that we saw before: adversarial, individual, outside, insider, accidental. So this is reconnaissance, so I don't think it will be accidental match. So I'm looking here. Let me focus. You can do different ones for different adversaries. Let me focus on the individuals that can be outsiders. So I'm focusing on this threat source. So it's someone outside the organization that I'm worried that they'll find access to my exposed network and get information out of them. Right, so that's my threat source. Let's try to understand the characteristics of the threat source: capability, intent, and targeted. So for capability, this is still in task 2.1. I'm trying to assess the threat source capability. So this is a table that I can use from my assessment scale: very low to very high, or 0 to 10, or 0 to 100. So that's an outsider and an individual outsider. So I don't think there will be a very sophisticated level of expertise, right? This should be something much less. If it's an individual, I would be somewhere here to very limited to moderate. But let's say we stay with a low and we put 20. I'm going to use this semi-quantitative value. I'll say limited resources expertise because it's just an individual. It's not a nation state I'm worried about at this threat event. And intent, what is the intent? I have another table here to help me. So intent can be, again, for very low to very high in qualitative values. And very low intent is disrupt, deface cyber resources and without concern or tradecraft. Or the intent could be undermine, severely impede, or destroy a core mission of program, function, or enterprise in the organization, information system, or infrastructure, and can also hide it very well. So this matches more a nation state intent. So intent to me also would stay in the low, that the adversary, maybe they're just trying to steal some information if they can. They actively seek to obtain critical information without concern about detection. Don't care about being detected and blaming a nation state for the attack. It's just an individual that tries to make some money. So I'll say intent is 20. But again, I keep repeating, these are subjective opinions. Still, we have an understanding of the range. On the targeting side, my assessment scale, the characteristics of targeting from low may or may not target specific organizations or classes, or to very high, analyzes information via reconnaissance that is persistent, high value, and mission critical information. So here I would select something in the middle that the adversary can find public information. This says publicly available information to target persistently high value organization. So they don't do something very aggressive, actively doing reconnaissance, but just find any public information they can to attack the system. So I would put 50 in the targeting one. So next will be relevance. So I'm trying to understand the relevance of threat event. That will be task 2-2 table E1. So let me go there. That will be task 2 threat events and table E1. So there are many tables here. E3 examples, still examples. So E4 relevance of events, right? So relevance can be more organization dependent. So I'm looking at possible to confirmed. Do we think that this threat event has been seen, or do we think has been seen by others we trust, or has it been reported by a source we trust, or has it been predicted by a source we trust, or can be just described by somewhat credible source, maybe in a forum on the internet. Someone said, I know how to do that, there's public information, maybe this can be done, we can enter that system and find information. So I would select the value possible and put it in the table. Then after I have the relevance, I go with the likelihood of attack initiation. There are two likelihoods, the attack initiation and the attack succeeding. So this is the likelihood of the attack actually happening, the adversary delivering the attack. So for that, this is task 2.4, likelihood. 248, yes, this one. So likelihood of, that's likelihood of occurrence, yes. So I need to use tables G1, G2, and I5. Let's say G2 remains an assessment scale in crude terms, like highly unlikely, almost certain. Again, that's a bit subjective. What I'll do here, sorry, switch that. I'll say there is high. So I think they're highly likely to initiate the event, more than somewhat likely because they want to make some money. So I'll put high or 80 or 8 something in the likelihood of attack initiation. Then on the vulnerabilities and predisposing conditions, apologies, we have to go, let's see here, that's task 2.5, should be this one, vulnerabilities, and where I have the vulnerabilities. Whether I have vulnerabilities, I need to know that from other sources, as we saw before. Example, ICS-CERT is publishing vulnerabilities per asset. So if I have those assets, I know the vulnerabilities associated with them. And then once I know that, I would know the values coming from the scores. In the next video, we'll discuss how to score vulnerabilities. Let's say there is a vulnerability like a hard-coded password used for vendor access, similar to the hard-coded password found in the WinCC software by Siemens, the database one that Stuxnet used to gain access to the database server. So there's a hard-coded password, that's a vulnerability, and I have that, I list that in my vulnerability column. Severity of vulnerability, again, that can come from the CV itself. How bad is the vulnerability? I can get a number of severity, and I can use also the tables for numbering them. Let's say I can give the 100. I'm using now this scale because, or I just multiply the CVSS score by 10 and I get the severity. So it's bad. Once you have access to the asset, then you can do whatever you want. You can extract all the information out of it. So I think that's very problematic. So I assign a severity of 10 in that threat. Likelihood of the attack succeeding. Let's see, this is this one at event table G1. Moving G4. This goes back to almost certain to have impacts, highly likely. It is more high level again and subjective. So what is once they steal the password of once they know the password through open source reconnaissance, so they may or may not get access to it may or may not have adverse impacts depending on what is the exact component they're accessing. So we may have some in the test environment, we'll have some in the production environment. So the likelihood of threat event succeeding and the resulting in adverse impacts also can be seen here. All right, so now overall likelihood, that will be on table G5. That's a combination of likelihood of occurrence and the likelihood of resulting in adverse impact. So likelihood of occurrence was here. We said before, likelihood of initiation is high, so adversary is highly likely to initiate the threat event. And resulting in impacts, we said 50. So 50, that's moderate. So I have high likelihood and moderate impact. That will bring me to moderate as the overall likelihood. So I'm completed that. And now I'm ready to finish two things. The adverse impact itself, that should be below table H1 to 5. So these are the examples of adverse impacts we discussed in the previous video, impact of threat events. And this is where I can select one of these values that are either qualitative or semi-qualitative. So since the adversary can leak information about my network, this is not catastrophic or super catastrophic. It's very high, but it's not negligible for sure, and it's not limited, right? I think it's serious. It's a serious effect on my operations because they get information about how my network is. Maybe they steal information from computers. So I think that's it will have moderate impact on my organization. So I also mark that. I put the value 60. So a bit on the higher range, higher end of the range of the moderate bracket, 20 on 79, I put 60. So now I can calculate my risk as a function of likelihood and impact. So risk determination, I go to the risk matrix. Likelihood is moderate. Level of impact is moderate as well. So given that table, my final risk for that specific event will be moderate. And this where I finish assessing the risk of that specific threat event. So again, this analysis is threat oriented. So I go after threats and I find the risk associated with them. And the final risk determination, let me emphasize again that it is given by the risk, the framing component of the risk management approach. So maybe moderate likelihood to moderate impact could be high risk for other organizations depending on their business process and specific mission. So this concludes that example.